Okay. Call the meeting to order, Management Services, September 6, 2023. At this time. Okay. Is there a motion to approve? Well, you got the roll. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Public comments. Are there any public comments? You do have one.
Yeah, you have public here.
Yeah.
You all know who I am, and I'd like to, this afternoon, to make a few points about this this drainage project on Grant Street. Point number one is it was brought up, presented to the county board 4 years ago, that by the mayor, all hands, that you wish the county would do something about draining that area that we're talking about north of Grant Street to the railroad tracks. Point number two is he came to the county again recently and offered, from what I understand, for the city of Watseka to pay half the cost of draining everything from the railroad tracks around wherever it is. He offered city funds. Now you have to understand that, public funds from the city to help do this. Number three, does he feel entitled? Maybe he does. Consider this, at the Watseka Family Festival last year, he felt that he should get into the show, the Saturday night show, he and his wife and another couple, for free. Tickets were $25 each, yet he felt that he didn't have to pay anything. Number four, at the time that it was brought up to the county board to start accepting bids, it hadn't been voted on by the city. And upon checking with a city council member just recently, it still has not been brought up for a vote. Now, I went to the county, or the city council meeting on the 15th, the Tuesday after the county board meeting. And I told them that it had been tabled at the county level and that they should take everything off the table as far as the city is concerned. I said, it's your responsibility to act on the best behalf of the people of Watseka. Well, the mayor was there. He heard what I said. If he'd have really thought, well, boy, I better get this through, he could have called a meeting, a special meeting, and asked for the vote. He never did. From what I understand in talking to a city council member just recently, it's not been voted on. Number 4 or 5. Funds. Where are the allocated funds? Where are they going to take those from? Hasn't been discussed. They're going to grab $150,000 from someplace and said, here you are, county. So that's what we have here. We have a mayor who is using his position for his own gratification to drain his backyard. Now, that's a conflict of interest. Mr. Chairman here said, well, no, because there's other people there that are going to be helped. consider this, folks. He did not bring a paper or a petition from these people saying, we want this problem taken care of. He is the only one wanting this problem taken care of. The others probably would like it, but did he go to them? Obviously not. So, we have a public official, the mayor, a elected public official, the mayor of the city, using public funds. He's saying, we'll give you this money to another governmental entity to help this. And what are these public funds going to do? They're going to drain his backyard. Now, I've talked to people, one or two people, that said when he built his house, we told him it'd be foolish to put in a basement. Yet he put in a basement. Probably has to have a sump pump running all the time to keep it dry. This is not right to go and help this person and accept the money from Watseka government. It puts a load, an extra load on the Watseka city government, the Watseka people, to replace this money. I think the only thing that you have to do is to take this whole thing off the table and start from scratch. There's not a very good name for someone that, because of their position as an elected official, to say, you can take some of our money from the city to help with this project. I think you all know what that is. I'm not going to put it out here because I don't want to stand any chance of being sued, but you know what I'm talking about, and that's what is going on right here. Start over from scratch. Get rid of the Watseka part of helping out. It may take some looking around for money. It may take some thinking out of the box, but that's what you have to do. You cannot drag the city of Watseka into this. And that's what is being done. So think it over, but the only thing that can be done right now is to take the whole project off the table and start all over, using only funds from the Watseka, or from the Iroquois County Board funds. It is not right for you to say, oh, wow, we've got more money here. Yes, but it is coming from the city of Watseka and its taxpayers, and you have no right to do that. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comments? Seeing none, maintenance supervisor report.
I'll start with inspections. We sort of wrapped up the summertime is inspection season for everything around these buildings, and the last to be done were the backflow preventers in this building, in the courthouse and jail, and Precision Piping came down a couple of weeks ago and did that for me, and we actually had two that did not hold this time, and they need a rebuild kit for them. In 6 years of having it done, this is the first time there's ever been an issue with them. So it's fairly common, they wear out. The one over here, and then there's one in the jail basement that needs rebuilt, and they're going to order the kits for me and come back and do it. We'll start quickly over here at the administrative center. There were a couple of issues this past month. During that very hot spell we had a compressor go out in a mini split unit that serves 911's server room. It was 12 years old, and it was a relatively small unit for what was going on in there. It was 24,000 BTUs. And over the years, there's been more and more added in there, generating more heat and whatnot. And kind of an emergency situation, I had Weber's come. It happened on a Friday. They were here on Monday installing the new unit. Eric had brought in a portable air conditioning unit, and we also had some fans in there, and I came a couple times over the weekend, as did he, to take a look to make sure everything was okay over there. The new unit is substantially, they upped the tonnage. I can't tell you exactly what it is because I don't know, but it's a much larger unit. If you go out and look at it, I think it will be good to go there for quite a while now. Over here as well, we had a gas regulator just outside that was ours. It's on our side of the meter that served the domestic hot water heater. That regulator went out and I had to have that replaced, had to be ordered and replaced. It's good to go now. We didn't have hot water in the building for probably 4 days. Over here, we spent some time helping the new assessor get things situated in their office. We moved a lot of stuff in and out and around for them. She asked politely if we could paint her office for her and fill holes or whatnot, because all the stuff that got taken down, and we did. We got her office all nice looking for her. Had to carry a bunch of things upstairs for her that they didn't want in there anymore. I'm sure you've all noticed the new dispensers that I chose to put in the restrooms here. That was done for a couple reasons. One, and the main reason, is the multifolds that we were using. So much of them were getting wasted, and the cost of them has progressively gone up and up and up. And now with the dispenser, there was an initial investment, of course, with all the new dispensers. They were just over $50 my price. I wanted to do automatic ones, but they started well over $100 a piece. And plus then there's batteries you have to worry about replacing in those. And the rolls that go in these now, I'll tell you real quick if you care to hear it. It's just over $60 for a case of the multifolds. And it's relatively the same price for a case of the new rolls, the large ones, and we're getting over 500 feet more of paper. So I think down the road that's going to be a substantial savings. Animal control, everything was good to go over there. We mowed it weekly, try to keep it look fairly decent over there. There were no mechanical issues over there. Moving over to the courthouse and jail, we're going to do, let me back up. When I keep saying we, I'm not like referring to myself as multiple people. I'm like not talking in third person or something. We, my part-time help who comes in and does snow removal, I've been utilizing him a little bit here on some projects. He's been coming in and helping me. We built some shelves for juvenile justice. They had some water that over the years we get heavy rains like we did. We got those 5 inches of rain. They're in the courthouse basement. They get a little bit of water in their office. They have a bunch of stuff in there sitting on the floor. I looked into buying shelves for them. I brought pallets over there for them. It quite honestly looked sort of jankety in there. So I looked into buying metal shelves. They were going to be way too expensive. So you're browsing the claims. That's what the OSB and the 2x4s were for. We built them some nice shelves to keep all their stuff up off the ground, and they're very grateful for that. Going to be doing some concrete work on just some touch-up work on the stairways of the courthouse. A lot of that's chipping away and coming loose. I'm having many tons of river stone delivered to the courthouse and jail. There's areas between that. I brought this up a couple months ago, but it's being done here this coming month. I'm having it excavated out. They're getting all the dirt and all that mulch out. There's an area between the courthouse and jail, and then next to the front stairs on the courthouse, and then also the rear entry of the jail, getting rid of all the mulch, and they're going to put down weed barrier, and they're putting 4 inches of river stone in there. And that'll solve problems of every time we get a thunderstorm and wash out on the sidewalks. We constantly putting mulch in and spraying for weeds. having a company here in town, Landscape Transformations, coming in and doing that for me. And last thing I've written down here, other than general troubleshooting, maintenance type stuff that do, I'm gonna be grabbing, either this month or next, I'm gonna grab a couple pallets of salt. I like to start the winter with 6. 2 winters ago in February, we ran into a problem where people ran out of salt. We got all our snow, all our storms, everything in the month of February, it seemed, and we came real close to running out of salt, and I wound up having to buy a pallet from Alexander's, and even that was hard to get. And anyway, that's pretty much what I've written down here. Everything that's worth sharing. And I'm open for questions or comments. Very cool, anything you want.
Who's removing the mulch? Are you doing that or someone?
Landscape transformations, they're coming in, they're doing everything. They're bringing in the stone, they're excavating out, they're doing the whole job.
That's just around the courthouse in jail?
Yeah.
Okay. How did the deep clean in jail get, is that done?
It is done, well, as far as I know. That's something I think is going to be done annually. Like I said, I mean, Clint can tell you a lot more as per request of, since COVID and all that, like when we get jail inspected, and
That's the,
it's something I think that's becoming more commonplace in small jails around the state. We'll let you know a little bit more on that. And, did I mention right off the bat, painting the exterior of the building? I contacted them. I have it written down here, I just skipped right over it. I spoke with them this week, and their plan is to start towards the end of this month or the very start of October doing the exterior of this building. Now I'm done.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on. Discussion and action on Grant Street drainage project bid packet.
I'd like to maybe clarify a few things that, basically, the way I see it, this is kind of a maintenance project that needs to be done. So we've got the north side parking lot, curb outlet is plugged. And so the water, as it comes off the parking lot, it cools and floods there, because that drainage is. And then we've got the standing water around the maintenance shed. And then over in the corner of the field over there by the border outlet, there's a brush tile and it's exposed. And, I can't get it that way. And so that needs to be repaired, you know, so.
Can we do those repairs without tying into the rest of it?
Well,
You know, make the repairs where those will work properly,
because there's no tile there.
nothing to go to.
No, not on that north street, it just opens out into a flat land
Okay.
that floods and has standing water that around the maintenance shed. So, and another thing that's been good is that we finally got a good outlet. And then as you know, anything with farm drainage is you gotta have a good outlet or else nothing happens. And that's kind of what's been sort of happening around the maintenance shed, that there's just not been a good outlet there at Porter Avenue. Well, we have that now, and so we can hook into that, and it's a straight shot to Sugar Creek. It goes behind the school and over in that direction. So, great big, like a big 4-foot tile that dumps into Sugar Creek at that point. So, I feel that, you know, we've got maintenance issues on our own, you know, without crossing Grant Street. But because Watsika's allowing us to hook into the Grant Street tile, that I think that we could probably go another 900 foot on our land and drain that water hole that's behind the mayor's houses and all the houses there. We pay to have that mowed every year, and a lot of times they're mowing around standing water, and it also all that standing water, it breeds mosquitoes and things, and that's kind of a health hazard too, you know, so, I just feel that this is not just a mayor's drainage project. I mean, we've got issues ourselves that we really need to address. And, if we can work with the city of Watseka and maybe take out one of their wet holes, you know, and then allowing us to hook into the Porter Avenue thing, I think it's something we ought to pursue. And, I think they would be willing to make the repairs at, crossing Grant Street. And, I think it's important that we do it all at one time, because as a drainage contractor comes in, they've got to set the grade on it. And if you just do a certain portion, you know, and not the whole thing, the grade may be off. They may be higher at Grant Street than what could drain this, you know, so. It's another 900 feet to cross Grant Street. I mean, I don't think it's, And another thing too is that we don't know exactly what this project is gonna cost. And so the city of Watseka is reluctant to hold back their vote. And we don't know either until we put it out for bid.
We haven't voted.
Right, we haven't voted. But I think we at least ought to put it out for bid to see what this project's gonna cost. As you know, putting it out for bid doesn't necessarily mean that the job's gonna get done. We still have to approve the bids at that bid opening.
So you really just want an estimate?
Exactly.
Can we just ask for an estimate?
That's what I'm asking today.
Not a bid. I mean, whatever, bid, that's, we're saying we want to do it, but if you ask for an estimate,
Well,
I don't know.
what's the verbiage here? Man, I forget.
What you and I and John put together was a bid packet.
Yeah.
So usually when we do this is us asking for sealed bids
To do the
to
project.
do the project. That's
But it
what,
doesn't necessarily mean that they have to.
But it's written there, that we could reject all bids.
we can, yeah, and
So we know-
that is in here
we know
saying
what we're
that we
talking
can't
about.
reject the bids.
Well, I don't remember what the amount was, but we did have an estimate per foot. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like $100 a foot. But,
I
so,
mean, that would be a budget number.
but that was from the engineer, Robinson.
Oh, no, I thought I had given you.
Maybe that was on the other drainage project. Was that Kelly Farm Drainage?
No.
Well, I just think we ought to at least figure out what it's gonna cost, and, you know, so we can
Well,
either vote it up or down, or.
in these discussions that you've been having, did you discuss a funding source for the county's portion?
No, but we could have that discussion.
Well, at this point, it probably isn't gonna get done this year, so it would be budgeted next year as a capital project possibly.
So we're talking about a capital project as a
And
source of funding.
assuming it's big enough that it would be, that it would qualify. I'm not sure.
And just to clarify, because I've heard, of course, both sides, pro and con, and it's a pretty controversial issue, at least in my experience, conversations. So did the city contact the county? Because that's the premise I'm operating under, at least my belief. Or who contacted who about this project?
It's my recollection that the city came to us.
That's my recollection. That we weren't even talking about this until we were approached.
John, as a point of clarification, who's claiming Grant Street? Does anybody claim it? Because if we go across it, somebody's gotta repair it, maintain it, and if it's not our street, then we have to have permission to do that.
Grant Street is all within the limits of the city.
That didn't answer the question.
No.
Route 1 goes through the city, it's a state road.
Okay,
Is it a city road? I know there's been discussion, some say it's county, some say it's township, some say it's city.
according to the maps, it's a city road.
Okay.
But we own 10 feet or so on the other side of to the
It's
west.
More than 10 feet.
We own up to the backside of those lots.
So, guesstimate, Chris, how far is that? Is it about the same on both sides?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's equal.
So as much grass as there is on this side, we have that much grass on the other side.
About 75 feet wide, isn't
Yeah,
The highest point is at the road, and then it slopes to the west toward the houses. So the proposed tile line would go as close to those lot lines as possible.
So it wouldn't be closer to the road, it would be closer to the subdivision.
Yes, because it's lower. So, I mean, my point is that, you know, if the police cars need tires, we get them tires. And this is just a maintenance issue for me, you know, because we're not taking care of the parking lots, you know, and if you look at all the FSA maps, you can see that corner of the field is drowned out over there by Porter Avenue because of this drain.
I've been complaining about that for over 10 years, but there is a tile there.
Yeah.
And you say it's exposed and crushed,
Yes,
so that could be repaired.
yes, and it's in here, in the bid to be fixed.
So when you say that in the south parking lot, there's a drain that's plugged and not working, tell me what plugged means. That doesn't mean it's full of corn stalks that we could pick up with a pitchfork. That means,
As it goes into the field, that's where it's crushed.
and so it's plugged because of the field tile,
Yes,
the crushed field tile.
right.
So if the field tile were repaired, the south parking lot would drain.
Yeah,
And where does that field tile drain to?
I don't know. But if we hook it in there, we'll know it'll drain into the Porter Avenue drain, that corner.
And there is no tile to the east of the maintenance shed where it stands with water,
Not to my knowledge, no.
because there's always patch of weeds out there. I did notice it had been mowed,
Yeah,
during the drought, it must have dried out, and we were able to mow it, and there's a flag
I
there.
filled it in
You did?
with the skid steer. I got dirt and filled it in and drove over it. And even though I know it'll come back, I got tired of looking at that grass.
Me too.
I think you guys are talking about two different things. The south parking lot, nothing floods on the south parking lot. It's the north parking lot where John was talking about. There's a tile, not even a tile, is a sewer inlet, two of them that go under. That's near the jails. That's the northeast side of the parking lot there for the courthouse.
And so it's already an existing sewer?
Yeah, but it drains under that road into the field right there to the east.
Just runs out into the field.
Yeah.
Doesn't go anywhere else.
There's like a beehive inlet there and it just goes to that and comes up out and then it's supposed to just run through the field and go wherever. The south parking lot, there's nothing. There's no curbs. It just runs in the
It
field.
just runs off.
Yeah.
I guess there, on the very west side of the courthouse, there's a manhole cover where that steel plate is.
Mhm.
There's a 10-inch that's in that hole that runs down to the field too, and that's the one that's crushed. It's in the field. And there's a couple of broken spots in the sod that's been sunk, you know, so there's some broken sections in that sod too, so.
And the courthouse lawn over
Yeah.
there in the south, that'd be the northwest.
It'd be the south.
So somewhere out there in the lawn.
Yeah, southwest, yeah.
You mean northwest? Oh, no, it's southwest, excuse me. This is my right, this is my left, this is my north and this is my south.
So I'd like to make a motion and put it out for bid.
I'll second that
Is
motion.
there, in the bid packet, was there anything about repairing the road and stuff?
Yeah.
Didn't get a chance to read it.
uh, C, scope of work. There's the patching of Grant Street, removal and replacement of urban gutter and traffic control. The crossing.
I have another copy of that bid.
Oh, yeah, did I not give you one?
I didn't see one.
Where were you reading, John?
So it's under C,
On page 2,
yeah,
scope of work?
yeah. Yeah, I did it for myself.
Okay, so it says all that will be paid by the city of Waseca. Do we have that in writing that they will do that?
I don't think they've decided that their council to fund it. What, the city to pay for their portion of this.
Well, has the city at least agreed that that this be put out for bid?
Yes,
Is that in their minutes?
yes, yes.
When you say the city, who was that agreed?
It's pretty much the entire city council.
Was a vote
finance
taken?
committee. No. But it was agreed to put out for bid. I mean, to put out for bid, I don't think, you're not spending any money, so you don't really need a vote. I mean,
Well,
you're not making any decision as of yet,
as a
You're just
committee,
asking.
we have to decide that it's okay to put it out for bid, which will be approved by the full board on Tuesday. Doesn't Watseka have the same procedure?
Right, yeah, but they would wanna know, what they wanna know is how much, and so, and before they can move forward with any voting or anything.
And I don't mean to be difficult, John, but I really want to understand what Watseka is doing.
Yes,
So, who in Watseka wants this put out for bid? Their management committee that voted and their council voted to put it out to bid? Or did 2 or 3 people get together and say, let's put this out for bid?
no, on the 18th, John and I appeared before the finance committee, and it seemed like that was the general consensus, to put it out for bid, and let's just see what this thing's gonna cost.
So on August 18th, the finance, did they vote?
No,
So if we put it out for bid, we get a bid back, we present them with that, they can take and vote on it at that time.
then they can take action.
Yes.
Well, here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to spend as much time with an engineering company and bids and bringing in yet a third party as we did with an architect on a dog pound. I want all our ducks in a row before we move ahead.
We've,
When does the city have their meeting? Will they have one before next week?
I don't know when it is. But we've had the work with Robinson Engineering, like Keith Mulholland, he's been to one of these meetings.
Yes, I recall.
Yeah, and
He brought the pictures.
they've shot the job and knows what the depth of cut, and so
Did he give them an estimate if they're agreeing to do the work on the road? Because this is not asking for a bid on that, so do they know how much that's gonna cost?
no.
Because that's not information we're getting, so are they working on getting that information for themselves?
Well, they know exactly how to patch it, and they thought that they would do that to hold the cost down, themselves.
Well, there again, we are in the same position when we deal with Robinson as when we dealt with the architect. We're talking about they'll do the work. Well, they might not be doing the work. If we put this out for bid, accept a bid, work with Watseka, all the pieces fall in place, and the Acme Drainage Company comes in and they get the bid. So then Robinson, we've been relying on them for information, shooting elevations and other things, just like we relied on an architect previously and then got a bill from them. I've seen this, thank you.
Who paid for that?
Well, that's a very good question. Who
Whose
paid
name
for
is
it?
on it?
Robinson Engineering.
Did
They
you pay
paid
for that?
No, but
The
you didn't,
city paid for that.
the city paid for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
That's an indication of their interest in the project.
did they vote to do that?
I have no idea.
Well, I recall when Mr. Robinson was here and we have those pictures,
So I
so.
did ask him specifically, are we, Craig Law, Keith Law, and we were, his county was on the hook for any cost of engineering he sent out.
Who's gonna pay that?
City of Watsika.
Do we need, since we're actually doing this together with them, do we need to contact the state's attorney for an intergovernmental agreement?
I don't think so, not at this point.
But at some point, we may need to.
That might be the case.
We're just
All that's been asked of us, the meeting that John and I had, we went to talk to the city council at the direction of this committee, okay, when this project came up. The result of that meeting was the city council said, we don't know what it's gonna cost. We said, we don't know what it's gonna cost. Let's find out. Will you go out and get bids so that we can all know what the project is gonna cost, and then we can make some decisions. We're kind of putting the cart before the horse here because we're trying to make decisions without knowing what the project is gonna cost. It may be when we find it out, we may all say the heck with it. And then again, we may say, okay, let's figure out how we're gonna fund it.
Are they,
This is where we're
are
at.
they going to be able to supply costs for the street to themselves? Because apparently they're going to take care of that, we won't have to. But that's something we're not, it's not in the bid package, that's what I want them to do. I wanna get all the questions because I'm tired of things coming back all the time.
Exactly.
So I'd rather ask 20 extra questions today instead of having it come back again next month.
I guess the best recommendation I would make is if the whole committee would come and appear before the city council in Watsika, and then you could work it out, because you don't seem to want to take my word for it or John's word.
It's just, you know as well as I do,
I understand your
Everything goes to the
frustration, I hope you
board,
understand my
everybody's gonna
frustration.
be asking these questions.
I hope
so.
you understand my frustration as well. I put a lot of time in on this, so I don't get compensated for that. Okay?
I know.
And we haven't been privy to that. So,
What do you mean you haven't been privy to it?
all we have is what
We're
we
just wanting to know what you guys found out.
I'm reporting on it to you right now.
So I have more questions, and while you were out of the room, I pointed out that this feels to me very much like what we've encountered with the animal control building when we had an architect in here, and he gave us the benefit of his knowledge, his drawings, his time, and everything else, and when it came time to bid on it, then he didn't get the bid and we received a bill. So we are using Robinson Engineering, the
No, we're
city
not.
paid for.
We are not using Robinson Engineering. The city is using Robinson Engineering.
Okay, but Mr. Robinson appeared here and made a present, the
On behalf of the
representative.
city, yes.
So the next question for me is the same situation. If Robinson bids on the project, it obviously has to be put out for bid. The Acme Drainage Company might get the bid, and then we have an engineering company here.
My
And-
recommendation, Donna, is for you to handle the whole project. You go before the
Let's leave the
city.
sarcasm in the
No,
door.
this isn't being sarcastic.
My next question
You're rejecting all
is,
the work that I put in on this as well as John. There's no evidence of any problems here.
my next question is, if we're looking for bids, should this not say something like the Iroquois County Board, Watsika, Illinois, in conjunction with and the city of Watsika will accept sealed bids? Although I think that would open up a whole can
Yeah,
of
you
worms
can't
of
write
legal
both of them.
questions.
You can't put both on there. It just wouldn't.
This is entirely county-owned farmland. Land, not farm. And Robinson Engineering wouldn't be doing the work specifically themselves, they're just engineering. Two elevations. They may make a recommendation, size, what we can do and what we can't. They're not gonna physically do the work.
And we know that we're under the impression that Robinson is taken over, is responsible to the city of Watseka. Is that correct? We aren't gonna probably get any charges, invoices for that. And we got a motion in a second.
And we're discussing. And we're discussing it, Robert.
I don't believe we had any architects involved or engineers involved when we did the work on this county farmers. This is very similar. In fact, probably the same companies that did that work are likely gonna bid on this work and do this.
I hope so, that's my hope.
I don't think it requires an architect's involvement.
No,
No
not for our
indication.
part, I don't think.
I don't think an architect needs to be involved. I was
You're
comparing.
the one that brought it up.
I did use the word architect in connection with the previous situation with animal control,
It's-
not in connection with this
That's
project.
not apples and oranges. I think to me, it's very simple. If we get prices on this, then we got a face on the project. Would we want to go forward with it or not? Without that information, nobody can make a decision.
So if after we send it out for bid, we would get the bids, and then we would go back to the city
Well, we
and
would
ask
open,
them if they're gonna pay for their part.
we would open, and then, decide at that point whether we should go forward with it. And then-
Without knowing who's gonna pay for Watseka's side?
Well, we would probably vote on to approve the bid, and then maybe go to the Watt City Finance Committee.
We're not going to give final approval until we get together with the city and make those decisions.
But
Can't
there's,
really accept the bids until you,
Well, we could accept the bids pending an agreement with the city.
Their approval.
and there's a handshake agreement right now at a 50-50 split of the cost.
No, but we're still deciding what it's gonna cost. We don't know. It's hard to agree to something if you don't know how much it's gonna cost.
we couldn't expect the city to pay for anything that's on our side of the project. You know, they would maybe cover what's going on the city side. Is that how you're looking to get?
The only
split
thing
the
that
cost?
All
would
of it is
actually
on our
be
side.
city would be.
It's all on our side, okay.
The road would be the only thing that would be the city.
It's all within city property or city limits, but it's all on our property.
Why would we expect the city to fix it, to help? You just
Yeah.
putting the road back together, is that all you're expecting the city to do?
The city conducts projects like this all the time. They're always constantly updating sewers and drainage throughout the city. This is no different.
Well, it's not up to us to decide what water hole is more important for the city of Watseka versus other water holes.
We're worried about water on our side.
Right. When we get a dollar figure, we can't move ahead.
So when you were figuring this, were you figuring tile all the way along or just partway with a catch basin?
Kind of starts, it's 900 feet north of Greenwich. It's not, it goes through, here's Green Street. So right straight here is where we begin.
And is it just gonna be a tile or are we gonna have a catch basin there?
At this point, we're just gonna have a tile. An inch of
it'll have to sift through the ground like regular tile, no.
And if it's determined later on, we need to put a catch basin in, that can be done fairly inexpensively.
Are we going the same size the whole distance?
Yes. 10 inch, yeah. And that's.
Is there that much water there that needs a 10-inch?
Well, it's been, you know.
Or is it that they just don't want to reduce the size as it comes along and picks up more?
Right. That's what Robinson Engineering recommended. And in the big scheme of things, you know, 900, well, 2,500 feet isn't all that far, you know. And because you never know what's gonna come off the road. See, all the water from the center of the road runs this way.
Right.
And then we make a little filter and go right across here.
I'm a little confused about the tile. You're gonna start with the tile? Is it gonna have a closed end or
Yes,
is the tile perforated?
yes, with a sock on it,
All right.
We can put sock on, sand?
yes. Yeah, right through here, it will start out about 3 feet deep, and then right in here is a hill, so it'll have to be a cut of about 6 feet. And then it jogs over and then crosses over here, and then this is be pretty shallow again, right in through here.
Yeah, the tile the line we're gonna tie into down here.
Yeah, yes.
Well, we're not,
So we're not going up in anybody's subdivision or anything like that.
No, we're staying
out on
on
our
our
property. Okay. Some people are under the misconception that we're asking the city to pay for this whole project. And that's not the case, right?
There's a lot of,
Mhm.
and a lot of controversy.
Okay.
Which, that surprises me, I didn't, I didn't think.
Oh, yeah.
There's always misunderstandings and rumors, most of which don't have any basis in fact.
okay. Can anybody else think of any other questions that are gonna come up at the full board meeting that's gonna get sent back?
No, that's a ridiculous question.
I know.
You know they're gonna find some, they're gonna find some, yeah.
I just don't want it to come back.
I hear you.
All right, we got a motion and a
If that
second.
comes up at the board meeting, the arguments are the same. How can you make a decision if you don't know what it costs? Money is always the biggest factor that we evaluate on any project.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead and take the roll, please.
Bowers,
Yes.
Benz,
Yes.
Carl's,
Yes, we can find out what it costs.
Zumwalt,
Yeah,
Aaron,
Yes. Okay.
All right.
that was the easy one.
Wait till it gets hard, huh?
County farm management issues. Anybody got any issues on farm management?
I did have one thing I wanted to say, that the, now that we've got the tile done on that project, I think that one of the next things we need to maybe look towards, probably not this year, because things are so tore up over there, but to reshaping that waterway and reseeding it, when it starts from Route 1 and going west, probably 1,200 feet or so, it almost touches the right south of the county farm, almost touches the Blacktop Road or southwest. That's something we need to look at in the next review. And that'll probably have to get put out for a bid too.
Yeah, it would. I don't remember if Thad ever did any work on figuring out, I know we've done some seeding on it in the past, but I think Janet actually just did it. But, you know, do you think that's something that we need to go to them and say, help us design it? No, we can't cost share, government can't cost share with government, we found that out in the past.
Yeah,
If the tenant was going to pay for it, then there could be some cost share.
yeah.
But us and them, no, it doesn't.
It's just design work.
It'd be if we thought we needed design work done.
Ideally, it'd be nice to get this done before the next go around for the lease, signing the lease again
Oh, that'll be next
next year.
year.
Because I'd like to put in the lease that water was ever disturbed, sprayed, killed, it's on their time to fix it. Anyway, that's just an asset thought.
I think they might be receptive to helping with that.
Yeah.
You know, they sort of indicated a little bit that, you know, they were grateful for the tiling and,
Yeah,
it would be worth approaching.
right, yes. That's all I had.
Okay. Any other department issues? Okay. Discussion action on getting out fertilizer. So we need to go ahead and get that put out for bid, so when the top comes off, it's ready to fertilize. Any,
I'll make a motion to put it up.
I'll second the motion.
any further discussion?
Are there any names that we want to add? I mean, you know, we put it out, we advertise it, we put it on the website. Can we put that on the Facebook page? But I know we send some letters too, and I always like to be as all encompassing, as fair to everyone as we can be, so if anybody, didn't we have a list last year?
I have a
Oh,
list,
So-
I'm just not getting responses really from anybody except for United Prairie lately. So if you have anybody you want me to add to that list, email them to me and I can add them to my list.
What, would you pass that around so we can see who's on the list?
Yeah.
I think, was it last year when I looked up, was it in connection to fertilizer or was that something else?
You sent me title people
That's what it was.
and you sent me title people
Okay, so.
to.
Was United Prairie the only one?
Yeah.
They're the only one that's
the
been
ones
bidding.
that we
A couple of years ago, Ashland put in a bid, but yeah.
Is
Surprised.
Good Wine still Van Horn or is that Nutrien now?
It's Nutrient.
Can I write up?
I think I have Nutrient on
You're
there.
not sure, you should probably got Nutrient, the big ones that show.
It's Sheldon, but for Good Wine, you've got Van Horn. Is there still a crop production in Anarga or what's that?
It's anything
What
what's
crop
hot.
production?
Yeah.
Bowers,
Yes.
Benz,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes. Discussion on animal control building and more. Is there anything on the animal control building?
Let's talk about the board.
All right.
Well, we've all been down to look at the space on the east end, and I'm for it, and I got a copy of the lease, and I think that Bill seems to think it would work, and I think it's the most responsible action and the best place for the taxpayer's dollar. There's water there, there's cabinetry there, it would need a floor drain, it would need a garage door. Although Jill thinks that that garage door that is on the east end could be utilized and maybe walls moved, records moved, that's something to be determined. We own it, we maintain the building, we take care of the utilities already. The snow removal's in place. The grass mowing is in place. The con is the loss of revenue and terminating the lease. And I think that the space could be done far less expensively than any other option we've looked at. And I understand that there is a question about security with the ceiling. And when we were up there, our viewing ended rather abruptly and unfortunately. But it looked to me, I did walk back there, like there was a great deal of ductwork. And you said it would be difficult to put in plywood or something. I'm also wondering, and I don't know what the answer is, open to suggestions of how to make that secure, is some sort of metal grilling could be put up there so people couldn't approach that area. There has to be a way to reasonably make that secure. The lighting's there, it's available 24/7, and I would really, really like to have this committee seriously pursue this option. And I've taken the liberty of getting the lease, and I had one sent to Jim Devine, the girls, the ladies in the finance
Did you guys
office.
have a copy of it?
No,
The ladies in the finance office sent a copy to Jim Devine. And Mr. Schuer indicated to me earlier, down in the office when he arrived, that he thought that he might be able to work with the lessee to negotiate a termination of the lease. So I really think this, in my opinion, is a no-brainer.
All right, I'm gonna play devil's advocate for
You
you.
go ahead, I'm waiting.
If there is an odor, the way this building's ventilation system is, it's a common, open return vent. So there are no return vents. It just sucks up to above and draws everything. If any odor gets up there, it spreads throughout the whole building. That's something that would have to be somehow addressed.
Well, odor has been a problem, then it's not a problem. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, you know these things. Exhaust fan, something close off and open-ended, whatever, make the air return in another area, redirect ductwork. I don't know these things.
Bill, the man that does is sitting right back here.
Right.
I thought they were all in a Ziploc bag or something.
They are placed in a body bag, but that is not odor, I mean, that does not, it helps, but it doesn't control all the odor. So for me to sit here and say that you wouldn't have an odor problem, I'm not gonna put my neck out there like that because I don't know. That I don't know.
Let me ask you this. What do you do when you use NAP's facility to control odor? What do they have in place?
They do have an exhaust fan, and our cooler sits right next to the flower shop, and we've never had a problem. But I don't know if it's because it's more open back there. But I mean, the only time we have a problem is when we're getting in and out of the cooler. But when the door's shut,
It's not a problem.
yeah, people don't know. What I'm afraid of is people know it's back there, they're gonna think they smell it.
Oh,
I think they're just gonna sit there and say, oh, I think I smell something, you know, and I may not even have a body in there, so. But I mean, I don't know how to answer that question about the odor. I mean,
There was some that was concerned when the building was gonna be next door to this building.
exactly. Then it was a huge issue. But if NAPS can deal with it in their facility, I think we can deal with it here.
Okay.
Figure it out.
Next thing.
you know, and I don't know, if maybe you guys would like to go see how that works over there at Naps. I mean, you know, you can see how the back is open and, you know, there's 2 garage doors that we open and we can get a breeze in there to eliminate the odor quickly. I mean, we've done that before when we had an issue. You know, we've got a door on the north end and a door on the east end that we open up, and, you know, that helps. But, you know, we really don't have an exhaust fan that we kick on to kind of pull the odor out.
Next thing, how many people is it gonna freak out having dead bodies in the building? And you give me that, and that's fine, but Bill mentioned that where they are
let
At the
me,
hospital, there is a person there that is kind of freaked out about when there is a body stays there.
well,
Just because you and I might be comfortable with it, doesn't mean everybody is. And that's the thing that.
how would they
I-
even know that there's a body there? Unless they saw Bill back in there and they knew there'd been an incident, how would they even know?
So then they might, I don't know. People are, you know, then they may just always assume that there's a body there.
Well, then they'll get comfortable with the idea. I don't, you know, I don't know, but,
Like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate to bring up whatever.
all right, how much traffic is even in that end of the building? Very little. And the ones that are back there are the health department, who would have the greatest, I would think, understanding of the situation. So as far as, and 911's the other neighbor. So I mean, it's just kind of down there by itself.
Is an exhaust fan an option that we could put in back there?
I would say it probably wouldn't hurt. I mean, I don't know, Lyle might know more about that, but if there's any,
And you can always add, you cut a hole and put it in.
I'd say that'd be necessary, you know.
Well, I'd want that too, just to preclude any problems.
At least we're attempting to do what we can with it.
Bill, you don't use the morgue all the time, do you? I mean, sometimes there's nothing there at all, right?
yeah, sometimes there's nothing there at all, but, just like when we had this double homicide in, Watsika, I got there at noon, little after noon at the scene. I got called at 6 p.m. We still hadn't been able to get the bodies out of the house yet, but at 6 p.m. I got called over to Gilman for a gentleman who committed suicide from Tennessee. So we picked him up, brought him back to Watsika. Then finally the state police said at 10 p.m. that they think we might be able to move the bodies at 11. Actually, at 12:30 a.m., we got to move the first body out of the house. And then at 5 a.m. the same morning, we finally got to move the second one. So we were on that scene for 17 hours. And then, we're gonna have to take the bodies down to Champaign for autopsy. Well, they don't have an x-ray machine, so then we had to take them up to Kankakee. We had to get them x-rayed. That was on Friday. Then we had to bring them back to the funeral home, put them in the funeral home because now the autopsies aren't until Monday. Well, over that weekend, we had a fatal accident. So now we got 3 bodies to take down to Champaign on Monday. So now we had to use the NAPS van, we had to use their cots. I mean, we just got snowed under. But that weekend, we had 5 bodies in that cooler that holds 8. And the naps were barking. But I didn't, my guys were up 16 hours and they were exhausted, and I didn't even want to drive these bodies down to Champaign. I mean, it was.
So the cooler that you're gonna get, how many bodies will it hold?
If I can get the one I want, which that's the one I've been looking at the whole time, it'd be exactly what the naps have.
8 bodies?
It can hold 8 bodies.
I know we've talked about this before, I just don't recall. What kind of electrical do you need for the cooler?
I think it's 220.
220, is that available there?
It's available anywhere you want it, to be honest.
And you need a floor drain for the cooler?
Well, like what we do over at NAPS, they've got a drain that we drain from one side of the building to the other, and it's got a pump on it. So that's where it doesn't mean we have to jack up the floor. I mean, we can.
Is the drain in the cooler then? Or is there another drain that?
I think it's in the top of the unit, compressor unit itself, and then there's a pump up there. and it goes up across and down another wall and into a floor drain.
Okay, that would be to get rid of the condensation.
Correct.
Is there a need for a floor drain for cleaning up of bodies, etc.?
We don't have anything like that over at Naps, so I mean, we don't have a floor drain if we, all we do is if we have blood spillage or something like that, you take sheets, Clorox, and throw the sheet away. So I can't say that,
So all we're looking at needing a drain for is the condensation, which
Correct.
can be pumped anywhere.
that can be pumped anywhere.
What about from your vehicle?
Huh?
What about from your vehicle?
You mean if we back in with snow or something like that, that's, yeah, I mean, we could squeegee it out through the front, through the door. I mean,
We've also got water in that room and there's bathrooms just down the hallway.
One thing that's concerned me is that the room down here may not be deep enough. If you get the fan in there, you've got.
Could- it could be an issue. I mean, even if we could, at this point, guys, I mean, if we can back halfway in, I mean, and unload or something, I mean, if whatever we can do to, I feel comfortable backing in halfway here than some of the other places we've looked at in Watsika. I don't feel the needles and the crime is right here at our 911 center.
Do you know just right off the top of your head, approximately how deep that room is?
I really don't know, I'd just be guessing.
Yeah.
Just could have counted tiles.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, I think this is an option, and John told me earlier he's got some thoughts, so.
Does anybody else have any questions on this option?
the dimensions are on the lease, Jill just said.
Yeah, of that office, there should be some sort of square footage on that lease. I mean, to give you an idea.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
On the bottom, maybe, the first page on the bottom? Maybe the second page.
So if we're done with questions on that option, any other options?
As far as I'm concerned, the option still remains over by the maintenance shed. You've done a lot of investigating and planning over there. I think that's also something that's very viable. Really answers all the same advantages that Donna has brought up as well. So I mean, to me, it's a matter of preference.
Got any numbers?
He didn't give anything specific, but I think we were kind of getting around 250 or something. He was thinking would probably cover most of it, depending on what all.
When you say most of it, just the building, or what bill needs also?
Cement,
It would be
drain,
the
plumbing,
structure.
The structure, not the coolers and things like
Right.
that.
electrical.
That's not in his budget to do what
I
he
think
wants.
his number was probably on the high side too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was asking
Yesterday,
for a
the
budget
ARPA
number.
Yesterday, the ARPA committee awarded the road commissioner in Ridgeland Township $106,000 for a pole building that's 3 times bigger than this one. And that was, that was an award of about $106,000.
To further
So if you looked at that and anticipated that the building might be, say, $85,000 or $90,000, you'd have a good space to accommodate some of the other things that would have to be put in. So I think the 250 number is kind of high personally.
Well, it'd just be a 3-sided building.
But that didn't have any cement or plumbing or insulation.
One thing, Lyle, that I would like to say that I just thought of, we had a gentleman that we believe is an overdose case out of Willow Estates. He had 8 children and an ex-wife, and they showed up. They all wanted to come see him, identify him, make sure it was him. So we let him come to the funeral home to do that. And I will admit their actions, I don't know if you would want that by your public county buildings. I'm just saying this is something, I'm not saying I object to what they did. They were all out, they're all out front, screaming, smoking dope. It was, I don't know if that's something that you would want. I'm glad that it's down on the east end. I'm glad it's not up by the front door here or the side door. But it was quite a scene to watch. And I apologize, Don, I hadn't thought of that, but I just got thinking about that, what we went through, and it was, kind of.
Well, that would happen here. Or
That's gonna happen.
That's gonna happen
At
anyone,
anywhere.
and I'm gonna guess that that's the exception rather than the rule too. Right.
Yeah.
So that could happen if you add it onto the maintenance shed, it could happen at the fastener building, that.
What other options has anybody heard of, or?
Hospital,
That would be a rental situation. That would be ongoing, and in the event that the hospital would be sold or anything would change in the circumstances there, we would be subject to a rental agreement, rental agreement terms.
what size of addition to the maintenance shed were we looking at? Was it
Somewhere around 900 square feet.
Do we have dimensions, 40?
I think we're looking at maybe like somewhere around 32 feet in the length and maybe 26 to 30 feet wide.
And with like a 10-foot overhead door.
We also would not necessarily need to make that the same height as the maintenance shed right now. It could be made a much lower height. Again, that would be a cost savings. Many times when buildings are added onto, those kind of architectural things are included because it, some people's mind enhances the view or appearance of the building. But in this case, it's not something that would be necessary.
30 feet wide, 32 feet deep then? Is that what you're thinking in the length? Was Doug Geiger, was he looking at some estimates?
Doug has been working with me on that issue, yes.
Amongst the list of things that would need done down here, and I'm looking for your additions here, would be an exhaust fan. We'd have to do something for the drainage issue, which apparently can be accomplished. The electrical is in place to address the security of the ceiling and to reopen up the garage door. I still think that space can be done cheaper than adding on to the maintenance shed.
But we still have some unresolved issues about the lease.
Yes. So I would propose that that's where we move forward. Get Divine's thoughts
Get
and
his opinion on
speak to the lessee and see what we can do. It's my understanding that while we were down there discussing, that building isn't, or that space isn't used very much. And there is space, as John told me yesterday, in their office.
You said twice a year and John said twice a week.
Well, that seems to be a discrepancy, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a big difference, you know, as far as.
Yeah.
It's not a consistent number. I don't know that anybody can tell you that how often they have people in there as often as they have a need for it.
Let me see the lease.
So when people come to view bodies, is it like you make sure it's between 9 to 5, or are they sometimes after hours, or?
It could be after hours, it could be, I mean, it could be on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, it just depends. I mean, these kids were from Chicago. They don't take no for an answer. They came down the next day. They wanted to come down at midnight. I told them I'm not going to be there at midnight. I said we can do it the next day. So it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they finally got down here from the Chicago area. And
I know that's the exception. Would you have felt comfortable having them in this building with just you here and 911 people that are locked in?
but if I could make sure my area was locked where they can't get
If
out.
they had to go to the bathroom or something?
If they can just go right down the hallway to the bathroom, if there's some way we can secure get to the bathroom, then, you know, yes, I would feel fine if we could get the doors locked where they can't. I mean, usually they go out, they run outside and throw their tantrum. That's usually what they do, is go outside. But I don't see them running through the building, but I would still want it locked.
The mantel's down the floor again.
In the hallway,
Yeah, just like that.
we've done that before. Well, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and explore this option, speak with Mr. Devine, and instruct John or ask John to do his work towards terminating a lease and make this our morgue space.
Do we have a problem with investigating more in multiple directions so that we can at least have one that works out?
I don't think I understand your question.
Investigate what you want to investigate here. Look at over there, get all the figures for all the options.
Okay,
Because we do one thing, it goes to the full board, and then it gets kicked back to us. If we go with all our options, go to the full board and say, we got this, this, and this.
Pick one.
Yeah, pick one. You know, I'm just trying to figure out how to get this done.
Get some tighter numbers on the building over there at the storage with the sheriffs too, and do them simultaneously.
Yeah, rather than, okay, we're gonna do this, and then go through the process, and then it comes back.
Just so we have the
All of our
numbers.
options, get
all right,
all of the stuff,
that's fine.
and bring it all together at once.
So who, how do we proceed to get these numbers for this space down here?
Well, you've started a list, that's a
Right.
good start. Yes. And we'll have to get with Bill to make sure we're covering everything that we need to cover.
And I'll add a set of double doors. And we'll need to decide like where we want those placed. Because you would have to go past the health department and past the USDA.
There is double doors just this side of the health department, correct?
But there's the bathroom on the other side.
Yeah. So their bathroom would be between the double doors and that space.
So that would be a non-issue.
Possibly, as long as, do those lock automatically or how do
They're not only that, oh,
They're fire doors.
they, they can't be locked?
Right. And if there's smoke, because I have to replace the batteries up in them about once every 8 months or so. And then that door going down to the other part of the health department, there's no lock or anything on there. It's just, which could be installed.
I guess we just have to take a list. See what becomes feasible and not feasible.
So that, my question is, how do we move ahead to get this list and prices at this quotes, not bids, quotes?
I think I'll just work with Chris and between us, we'll figure out who would be able to do some of this stuff and try to get prices put together. Unless you wanna work with Chris. I'm okay with that too. If you wanna do it, that takes it off me, I'm fine with it.
Whatever you want.
Who said I won't do it? I'm joking. Am I getting thrown into this?
Well, I didn't say you had to do it by yourself, so I was trying to be nice to you. But you're the one that's got more of the expertise on the building, so that's why we would like to have you included.
I'll do it since he said I have expertise.
Yes.
I feel good about myself.
And then on option 2, I mean, I could maybe speak with Wharton out here, they've got a pretty good program. You just kind of tell them basically what you want, it's out a picture and a price. Is in the ballpark of what they cost. And I could also be the sales over here, you know. But I think maybe, John, did you do something similar with Cleary, as far as adding on the maintenance shed? Or,
I can see what we can do.
okay.
Okay, is anybody gonna, oh, yes,
Just a real quick comment, it might be a little difficult to get people to just throw out quotes to bring back here, because then,
what we're gonna have to ask for is a budget number and
We're
not
not
a
asking for
tentative,
bids.
but necessarily.
right, and that's, I don't know if people are gonna necessarily do that. If they're going to come and just throw a ballpark at you, then that number's out there they threw at you, and for everyone to see, and then when it does, if it does go out for bid, then they're like, oh, okay, well, he said this, so I'm gonna bid this. I'm not trying to complicate things, I know this is,
Well,
That's,
that
gotten really
happens with
difficult, but-
bids too, once they're open, they're in
Well,
the minutes, they're out there.
right, that's my hesitation on putting the drainage thing out for bid if we're not going to do it. Is because of that, we had where it gets out there, it gets sent back, and then it's out there, and then, yeah, it becomes an issue.
I don't think it would be a problem at all getting people into, like, hey, is this possible to do, what do you think about opening this up? But as far as them giving an actual number, I don't know how that would work.
Well, we have to put it out for bid over 30,000, right?
Right.
So if you're talking to someone about an exhaust fan and drainage for a cooler and security for the ceiling, and
And the
we
one-
might be under 30,000.
Well, and down there, it's not gonna be one person that's gonna do all those different things.
Exactly.
So what we could do is get them and just say, our estimate as a lump sum is this much.
Right. Because we are talking about still using ARPA funds that, we have on the agenda each month. It's there, we have it in mind, it's staying on the agenda.
Yes, but the ARPA funds are gonna be going away just because they'll expire.
We're not gonna spend ARPA funds that are earmarked for a morgue. Jill's behind me going, I hate that word earmarked.
But they have to be spent within a certain amount of time, correct?
2026.
We've already been doing this for over a year.
If this goes on till 2026,
Good.
Put up a tent. We're gonna put up a tent.
no, I was thinking of more about my personal behavior.
Okay. So you're gonna work with Chris on that, and we'll just lump all those estimates together so that
Quote.
no quotes, so that no specific person's quotes will be mentioned.
What are we telling people? What do we want? Are we reinforcing the ceiling? What sort of exhaust fan? What?
One that gets rid of stink. And so nobody
So
can
box
crawl
fan?
through and fall through the ceiling. Stop laughing, guys. Well, that's what you and I are gonna work on. How about
Okay.
that?
I have
You
your
can rough in
motion.
some numbers.
Huh?
Rough in some numbers, 150,000.
Okay, that's still.
I don't know what.
I will withdraw my
You're
motion.
withdrawing your motion?
I will
Okay.
withdraw my motion. That will simplify.
So we're not taking any numbers or anything to the county board over this yet.
We don't have any numbers to take, so.
No recommendations to the board.
Still working on it.
And my concern is, when we go to the board, there's gonna be 3 more people that are gonna say, well, did you look at this and this and this?
Yeah.
Even though they were told to have it here. But as long as somebody brings up a question, there's gonna be 8 people that say, well, we need to look into that.
But we will present them with the idea of this, right? The fence.
Yeah. Our discussion.
Has anybody heard any other ideas from anybody else? You know, somebody is looking at the buildings in Narga again. So that will probably be brought up at full board.
They didn't bring anything to us.
They wanted to get the addresses, so I got them the addresses.
Yeah.
Bill, I have a question. What percentage of your cases would you say come from 57?
I would say just 57, that's a low number. That's a low number.
And let's see, like for instance, the 5 you had 2 weeks ago, they're all within a 20-mile radius, right? Of Watsika,
Yeah, you had Gilman,
right?
2 Watsika,
1 Milford,
1 Milford, 1 in Iroquois. So,
When you say a 20-mile radius of Watsika, that pretty much encompasses the whole county.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it does. Okay, 15. My point is, it was said to me that 90% of the coroner cases come from 57, and I don't think that's accurate.
He's the one that knows.
Yeah, no, I would no, it's not 90%, it's probably in the low single digits as far as what comes off 57.
Because I still believe that the facility should be in Watsika where the rest of our property is. And this is kind of needs to be here.
Okay, so you're gonna work on pricing for that. John's gonna work on working with Larry, maybe to get a little something firmer. You're gonna see what you can do with Morton to see if you can get anything a little firmer.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any other ideas?
good.
You know, to do that, I don't think we need any motion. We'll just be working on it. Okay. Should we move on?
Please.
Audit the claims. Everybody should have been sent the claims. Any questions?
I'll move to accept the claims.
Okay.
I'll
Pay the
second.
claims.
I'll second.
Bowers,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Crowe,
Yes.
Seymour,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes. Is there any old business?
Get the mic.
Is there any new business?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? We are adjourned.